This is a simple eye loop, and what you're going to be starting with is the head pin. Put a few beads on the head pin. So this is what I'm going to drop from my ear wire. What you want to do to start off is with your chain nose pliers, you're going to grab onto that head pin as close to the beads as possible. Grab with your fingers and hold on to the beads and turn over with those pliers. What you want to create is a 90-degree angle. Next, grab your cutters and you want to cut leaving about 1/4 of an inch. When you cut, make sure you turn those cutters sort of away from you. You don't want to get anything in your eyes. Sometimes it'll pop back out at you, so make sure you cut away and cut gently. Sometimes you can cut into your hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to my beads and onto that extra piece of wire. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to my beads like this. With my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the very tip of the wire and I'm going to turn up and over. Now, if you turn up and over with the very tip of your round nose pliers, you're going to create a small loop because that's the size of the plier right there. If you grab at the back and turn up and over, you're going to create a large loop because of the thickness of the plier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab right about in the middle for this and I'm going to turn over. This isn't one hand motion. You can stop, let go, and grab again. Just make sure that when you let go, you're always grabbing again at the same spot. Sometimes if you're having trouble, you can grab a marker and just make a little mark on your plier. If you do that, you're always grabbing at the same spot and then your loops stay consistent. You have your loop sitting right on top of those beads. Next, you want to attach your ear wire. Normally, you would think you'd grab with your flat nose pliers and open like this. But if you do it like this, then you're going to ruin that nice circular shape you just made. So, the way you want to open this loop is you're going to grab just that open side and turn it like this. You can turn it away from you or towards you, it doesn't make a difference, just as long as it opens to the side. You're going to take your ear wire, you're going to slide it right on like this, and then grab your pliers and close exactly the same way you opened. And now you have an earring. Now we're going to do the rosary turn. You want to start off with a piece of wire, probably around 4 inches long. The more the better. It's just good for practice. You can cut it off later and don't worry about the excess. Grab that wire with your flat nose pliers, just right at the tip, and you can run it down your fingers like this. It just helps straighten out the wire. Now what you want to do is we're going to make a simple eye loop at one end. It's always good practice to make a simple eye loop on regular wire because you don't have the beads to hold on to, so it's a little bit of a different feel. So what you're going to do, grab the wire with your flat nose pliers, probably around 1/4 of an inch down, and you're going to hold on to the bottom and turn over with your pliers. Remember, it doesn't matter which direction you turn over. You can turn away from you, towards you, to the side. Doesn't make a difference. It's always going to be a 90-degree angle. Still holding on to that long part, you're going to grab with your round nose pliers, about halfway down your plier, you're going to grab the very tip of the wire and turn up and over. Now you have a simple eye loop sitting right on top. Flip that over and start popping some beads on. Anywhere from 2 to 5 beads. And then we're going to do a rosary turn at the other end. Now, you want to hold on to the beads, and with your flat nose pliers, you're going to grab up about 1/8 of an inch. You want to leave some room because that's where your wraps are going to go. So you're going to hold on to your beads and turn over with your plier. Now, you have a nice 90-degree angle, a little bit away from the top of your beads. Hold on to those beads and grab about 1/4 of an inch down on your wire with the round nose pliers. This time we're not going to cut because we need this excess. It's a similar motion to what you did with the simple eye loop, but this time you've got this excess to worry about. So hold on to your beads, turn over with your pliers, and when that loop is right about sitting on top, you're going to let go of the beads, you're going to leave your pliers inside, and you're going to take this excess wire, pull it tight underneath your pliers, right off to the other side. When you take your pliers out, it should look something like this. You have your loop sitting right on top and your excess off to the other side. Next, turn it on its side, grab with your flat nose pliers, and cover up that loop. You want to make sure you don't grab through the loop and hold on like this, because that's just going to flatten out that nice circle you made. So you're going to grab on the outside, just like this, and then you're going to start wrapping. You're going to wrap this excess around the stem right here, and you're going to wrap from the loop down to the beads. Sometimes you'll have room for a few. I'm going to have room for about 2 or 3. 2 or 3 is sort of the normal amount you want to use, but you can do a lot more for decoration. When you're right about at those beads, let go. You want to pick up your cutters, and you're going to cut that excess wire off as close to those coils as possible. Just like this. Now, you have a little bit of a piece sticking out right here. So what you can do is grab with your flat nose pliers and squish right on the outside. Now it squeezes right in, and now you have your rosary turn. Now we're going to do a rosary turn on just wire. It's always a little bit different doing it this way because you have all the wire in your way and there's not beads to hold on as leverage. Same thing with a simple eye loop. So you're going to grab about 1/3 of the way down your wire, hold the long part, and turn over with your flat nose pliers. Now you have that 90-degree angle. Hold up on the long part. You want to pretty much go all the way up to that 90-degree angle. You're going to grab with your round nose pliers about 1/4 of an inch down, turn up and over. When that loop is right about sitting on top, you're going to pull your excess off to the other side like this. Next, grab that loop and cover it up with your flat nose pliers. And for me, as an extra hand, because this piece of wire is pretty short, I'm going to grab with my round nose pliers to help me twist. When you grab, you want to make sure you grab at the end. If you grab up towards here, you think it's going to help, but it's actually not. When you're grabbing back here, you have a lot more leverage and it doesn't mark up your wire as much. Don't worry about it if it all gets kinked up at the end. That's just the way it's going to happen. You're going to loop about 3 times, let go, and cut that excess off. Sometimes if it's not sitting right, if it doesn't look 100%, what you can do is you can grab with your flat nose pliers and just manipulate it a little bit. You can squeeze like this and the coils will come together. Move it around and you'll get it to sit just right. You can even grab on the outside a little bit. Now we're going to pop some beads on and I'm going to show you how to connect 2 rosary turns together. Now we're going to do a rosary turn again, but there's going to be a slight extra step in there. You're going to go up on your wire, grab with your flat nose pliers about 1/8 of an inch up on the wire, hold on to the beads, turn over. You have your 90-degree angle. Now, grab your round nose pliers, holding onto those beads still. You want to grab about 1/4 of an inch down, turn up and over till that loop is right about on top, and then pull your excess across. This is the step where you add another rosary turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the original one I made, slide it on just like this, and give it a tug so that it sits right inside that loop, like so. Now I can wrap. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab so that this stays out of the way. This is when the flat nose pliers sometimes get in the way with the thickness up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers, I'm going to grab this loop right here, and what I want is I want the excess to be off to the side and this to be my working area all alone. Hold like this, and now you can take this excess wire and start to wrap. Remember, you want to wrap from the loop down to the beads. If you don't have a lot of room, don't worry about it. Stop there, cut off your excess, and now you can go back in, give it a little squeeze to make sure that little extra part doesn't stick out and hurt somebody. Two rosary turns come together. Now we're going to do the Rosary Turn Clasp. The great thing about this one is you can also use as an ear wire. Start off with a good amount of wire, 3 to 4 inches, right around there. You're going to go about halfway with your flat or chain nose pliers, and you're going to turn over to make that 90-degree angle. Now, pick up your round nose pliers, and we're going to make a regular rosary turn. So you're going to grab about 1/4 of an inch down, you're going to turn up and over, and then right about when that loop is on top, you're going to take this excess and pull it off to the other side. This time, if you want, since we're not connecting it to anything, you can leave your round nose pliers inside and start to wrap. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Leave them in. I'm going to use my chain nose pliers as an extra hand, and I'm going to begin wrapping. It's always a little bit harder to wrap when you have no beads. It just sometimes they don't come together. The wraps don't come together as well as you want them to. But that's okay. You can always fix it with your flat nose pliers later. When you've got as many wraps as you want, slide your pliers out and cut the excess off. Now, take a look and make sure it's what you want. I'm going to cut mine a little bit closer because it didn't get in there as I would like it to. There we go. Now, grab with your flat nose pliers and just make sure this wire is straight enough. Next thing you want to do is with your round nose pliers, you're going to grab up about 1/2 inch. And when you grab, make sure you grab at the thickest part of your round nose pliers. Now, take this wire right here and just bend it over. With your finger, you can take the same wire and turn it out a little bit like this. Slide it off your plier. Now, you want to cut right in the middle of where you turned it out with your finger. If you want, you can take the rosary turn right here with your finger and just bend it out like this. Now you have a rosary turn clasp or an ear wire. It can be really nice to make your own ear wires. I do it a lot with my earrings, especially when there's a rosary turn involved. It makes everything really fluid and come together very well. There's a few things you have to remember with this one though. First thing is that it's always helpful to use half-hard wire. That way, this loop right here stays where it is. See how it just sort of moves out a little bit in my fingers? This is dead soft wire, so make sure you use half-hard. The other thing you have to remember is this tip right here that you just cut off with your cutters, it's really sharp. So before you put it in your ear or anybody else's ear, make sure you file it down. You can use a file, sandpaper, even a nail file if that's all you have around. The more you move and manipulate wire, the harder it becomes. This is called work hardening. This can even happen with soft or dead soft wire, but it can be a great advantage to your work. For example, the Rosary Turn Clasp. This clasp, right here at this connection, is a little bit soft. If I just give it a flick, it opens right up. But I can move and manipulate it so that it becomes work hardened. So what you can do, without any extra tools, is just grab a hold onto that rosary turn right there and give it a little exercise. Just go back and forth, back and forth. The more you do it, the harder it becomes. And then, it's a great ear wire and it's not going to move anywhere.